Hello, I'm Cathy Cameron. I'm the Senior Director of the National Falls Prevention Resource Center at the National Council on Aging.
And I'm Scott Trudeau. I'm the Productive Aging Program Manager at the American Occupational Therapy Association.
I want to thank everyone for joining us today for this special Falls Prevention Awareness Day Facebook Live event. Today we're going to talk about simple strategies that older adults, caregivers, people with disabilities can do in their homes to help prevent falls and injuries from happening. And one point that I want to make is that falling is not a normal part of aging. There are many things that older adults can do, simple things, to reduce their risk for falling. We know what the risk factors are, and if we can address those risk factors, like home hazards, we can reduce falls and injuries.
You know, Cathy, as an occupational therapist, one of the things that I'm concerned about is how the environment fits with what the person needs to be able to do in their daily life. And so the reason that's important in terms of falls is there are a lot of things around the house that we encounter on a daily basis that could potentially be hazardous. And so we want to look to minimize that so that as we go through our routines, we are not facing safety problems and fall hazards. So there are going to be a few things we're going to focus on in today's session. First, we want to emphasize that clutter is always going to be a problem. We want to avoid clutter in our homes. We all have a tendency to collect and amass too much stuff, and we want to avoid that. The other is that good lighting is going to go a long way to make your environment safer. So wherever we can, we're going to try to increase or improve lighting to make that setting a little bit safer. And then the third is there are a lot of things that we do on a daily basis that we can anticipate, that we can put things out and make them more accessible so that we're not encountering unnecessary hazards throughout our day.
That's great. Great points. So the home that we're going to visit today, it has been adapted for a person with a disability. So we're going to point out some of the universal design features, but we're also going to talk about, again, some simple strategies that anyone can put in place to reduce their fall risk.
Right.
And one of the major places where falls do occur is actually in the entrance to a home, here at the doorway.
Right here at the front door, yep. So what has to happen at the front door, and typically this home, again, is set up so that there's no steps leading to the front door, but most of us have steps in our front entryway. And so we're going to be climbing up steps. We want to make sure we have good, solid railings. We want to make sure the steps are in good repair so they're not wobbly or cracked. And then when we get to the top, we have to maneuver whatever bundles we're carrying and reach to unlock the door. So oftentimes here at the door, once you get up the steps, I encourage people to think about maybe the use of a grab bar similar to what you would use in a bathroom situation. And if you hang that here, you could hold on while you're reaching in to turn the door, and you're less likely to be off balance. Additionally, out here, it's really critical to make sure you have good lighting. Again, lighting's important. And if they can be motion censored so that as you approach the doorway, the light automatically goes on, that's even better.
Great. Excellent points. All right, well, let's go inside and start with the kitchen. Because the kitchen is certainly a place where we know that falls frequently occur, unfortunately. One thing that I would like to point out here in the kitchen is we do have high shelves.
Right.
And we tend to, put lots of things in the shelf. But it's important for older adults to keep, as you said, keep things that they use most frequently close at hand. So putting plates and bowls and cups right here on the counter so older folks don't have to reach up high or use a chair or a step ladder, because both of those are falls hazards too. So again, keeping things very close at hand makes a big difference.
That's right. And then in this particular kitchen area, you notice we have tile flooring. Tile flooring is potentially fairly slippery, and we have a little bit of a area rug right here in front of the sink, which is typical. But this particular rug on the slippery tile, you'll notice, slides very easily. Those corners would get folded up and become a greater trip hazard very easily. So if I were going to have a scatter rug or an area rug in front of the sink, I would want to make sure that it's a heavy rubber-backed mat so that it's not likely to flip up and to be as much of a risk. The other thing in the kitchen, again on the tile especially, is that this floor is going to get very slippery when wet. So if I'm carrying water over to the stove and I spill a little, I'm going to make sure that I clean that up right away. I take the dish rag right there from the dishwasher and throw it down and wipe up that spill right away so that not only I don't slip and fall, but somebody coming into the area not knowing it's wet doesn't accidentally fall.
Great points. Well, let's move to the stairway, because staircases are, again, a very frequent place for falls to happen. And one of the things that I think is really important, you talked about this before, is removing clutter. So here we have books. Let's put those where they belong, out of the way of the steps. Shoes, let's put them in the closets. Let's remove them for now, but they should go, in the closets as soon as possible and not block any part of the stairways, because that can certainly be a falls hazard. Lighting, again, it's important to have light both at the bottom and the top of the steps, and with a light switch at both locations.
Right. And you've got some nice wrought iron railings, but only on one side of this particular stairway. And so we would encourage folks to think about installing a second railing on the inner side of that stairway so that, again, depending on what somebody's needs are, they can hold on with either side or maybe even both sides as they're going up and down. Additionally, this stairway is interesting because it's typical of many stairs. It's very monochromatic. It's all the same color. And so as I get older, my vision has changed. I've noticed that my night driving already is a problem for me sometimes. So I want to make sure that I can demarcate each and every step so I don't miss a step and have a fall down the stairs. And so what we're doing now is we're just showing you, with the addition of a simple 2-inch tape, we can carefully mark out 1 inch going across the top of the stair tread and 1 inch folding over the edge. Cathy's showing us that it's very simple to mark each step with a contrasting color to make it a lot easier to see and a lot easier not to miss a given step. That's great.
Very simple tip.
It really is.
Yeah, it makes a big difference to be able to see one step from another. So let's go down the hallway and go into the bedroom and the bathroom, because again, those are two other locations where falls often happen. But one thing that I want to point out here in the hallway is this light up here. The light bulb is burnt out. Many older adults would try to change that light bulb by themselves, maybe using a chair or a stepladder, and again, that's a falls hazard for them. So I really recommend that older adults seek the help of family members, friends, and neighbors when they do need to change a light bulb, particularly in high places like that.
Additionally, I like to point out to folks that there's a new invention called an LED light bulb. That's one of my personal favorites around home safety, because what it allows you to do, an LED light bulb allows you to get a better light out of a particular fixture without increasing, and in most cases actually decreasing, the electricity use. So even though they may cost a little bit more up front, the electricity use balances it out and you save money in the long run. Additionally, the best part of it from a falls hazard perspective is that they have to be changed much less frequently, maybe once every 5 years. So this bulb, if it was an LED bulb, would not be out right now.
That's right. Good point. Good point. Well, let's come into the bedroom. And one important point here is that, again, we want light close to the bed. Many older adults have to get up frequently during the night to go to the bathroom. So having a light close by that they can turn on to light the way into the bathroom is really important. In addition, it's good to have night lights like this one over here that will go on. And I know there are some that are also motion sensor.
Right. So some can either be photosensitive, so they turn on automatically when the room gets dark, and some are a motion sensor, so they only go on when somebody's moving near them. My personal favorite is the photosensitive ones, because again, it doesn't wait until there's movement to be there. You may need it before it recognizes the motion. Additionally, it's, as you said, it's really key to just light the path to the bathroom and back to the bed. The bed is an interesting place when we think about falls, because one of the issues is getting up and down from the bed. We can install, it's actually a fairly simple process to just add a railing that fits between the mattress and the box spring. And then it gives you a base of support, so if you're standing up, you can hold on and you can pull yourself up. Additionally, the bed is important because posturally, whenever we change positions, especially from lying to standing, our body needs to accommodate to that. Our blood pressure needs to accommodate to that. And sometimes if we get up too quickly, you know, you feel that little head rush, and you want to be careful. That's a major yellow, red flag that a fall could happen. So you want to be careful with that. So taking your time, sitting on the edge of the bed for a minute before, you know, making sure you've got your wits about you before you stand up is really critical.
That's great, great. Another point too about the bedroom is to keep a phone handy. Particularly if you are feeling dizzy, you don't want to get up.
Right.
You might need some help. So having a phone close by where you can phone a friend or a family member to help.
That's a really
in
good
those
point.
situations. So that's something we could add here.
Great.
Great. Well, let's move into the bathroom. And bathrooms are certainly a location where lots of falls can happen, including injurious falls because of the hard surfaces in the bathroom.
So we have a lot of porcelain, a lot of tile, and so if I did fall in here, my bones are going to be more likely to be compromised. So we're going to be careful.
More breaks.
More breaks. So the first thing we want to sort of point out is how nicely the grab bars are available around the toilet. So these grab bars are really helpful, but you notice they don't move at all. That's because they were properly installed. We want to make sure that grab bars are set into studs, and that often involves having somebody with a little bit of training or expertise to install them correctly. A lot of area agencies on aging keep information of handymen in particular areas and locations that you can access who might be able to help you with that.
Great idea. And my understanding too is there are many more options available now for grab bars.
Exactly.
Those that complement the decor in the bathroom and other fixtures that you might have.
Right. So you notice the toilet roll and the what is this? Towel rack. That's what I was thinking. The towel rack match. Well, you could get the grab bars to match as well. Yeah. The other thing I like to point out is the fact that this towel rack is here. Always leads me to one of my favorite points that I like to make, is that this towel rack, even though it looks like it's made of metal and it's sturdy, is not going to carry your weight, especially if you are in the midst of a fall and you grab onto it to catch yourself. It's going to break away. Yeah. And so if you did need a grab bar installed at this position, you certainly could install it here and still continue to hang your towel on it. You can use a grab bar as a towel rack, but you can't use a towel rack as a grab bar. So that's a key point.
Really good point. I know that grab bars and other tools have been available now for quite a while from hardware stores and pharmacies that people can buy and install themselves. What is your advice to them?
So buyer beware is sort of my advice. So you want to be careful that whatever you're introducing is actually the right thing for your situation. And that involves, it has to be the right size to fit your toilet. Not all toilets are made the same. Those kinds of things become really important, and you don't always know that just by going into a hardware store and or a pharmacy and asking a clerk for assistance. It may work for most people, but your individual situation may be different. And so that's where I really encourage people, if you're making any kind of investment in equipment, you really want to get the expertise of somebody who knows, you can understand your situation and your setup to make the best recommendations for you.
Like an occupational therapist.
Like an occupational therapist, right.
Yeah. I know many older adults too need something to raise the seat of the toilet. Can you talk a little bit about those?
So those are actually, raised toilet seats typically are a fixture that actually sits over the top of the commode. And then oftentimes there are little railings on the side here. But what happens is it just sort of pops into this open space. And what can happen is, depending on how your balance is, if you hit that a little bit to one side or to the other, you can pop that suction. And so the whole seat can topple, and people, I am aware of patients that I've worked with who have actually fallen in that situation. So typically what we recommend is to think about a commode seat. A commode seat is a seat that sometimes when you're really having difficulty, you can put it right by the bed and you can get onto the toilet or the commode right there, and there's a bucket underneath it that you can empty. But you can take that bucket out and set that seat over the existing toilet. So for most of the time, just to raise up, it's a lot more stable to use that over the toilet.
Okay, great advice. Thank you. What can you point out here in the shower?
So let's come with me into the shower. I don't get to say that much in my daily life. So here we have a couple points that are important for folks to think about. The first is this rubber mat on the floor. Again, we talked about tile. We talked about being slippery when wet. This rubber mat is going to stick, and we're going to have good grip on our feet when we're in here. We have nice grab bars all around so that wherever we're positioned, we can hold on. We can use a handheld shower to bring the water to us instead of trying to do the dance to make sure we get thoroughly rinsed. And so there's a lot of tips, even though this is a specially designed roll-in shower that most people won't have. There are a lot of things about it that are important that can be added to routine or standard showers. Again, here we're going to think about the typical shower that most people have is in a bathtub. And so if I had a tub here and I had to climb in or out, I want to make sure that I had grab bars properly installed to allow me to do that. The other thing I would think about is whether or not a tub bench, a tub transfer bench, or a shower chair would be helpful so that I could take rests, sit down. Even if I stood up for part of the shower, I wouldn't have to sit down for the whole thing necessarily. So those are some thoughts about showers that we didn't think about.
And what about the handheld shower? What do you think about that?
It's one of my favorite items.
Great.
People think you need a plumber or it's a big deal to install. It's really not. It's, if you have somebody who's a little bit handy around the house, a son-in-law or a brother or whatever, they can come in and maybe help you set that up quite easily. It doesn't require a lot of plumbing. You just switch out the existing shower head.
Great. That makes taking a shower much easier.
A whole lot easier.
For sure. Well, you've talked a lot about different things that can be put in place in a bathroom and in other places in the house. What if someone rented their home? Do you have advice for them?
So it's really important, I think, to, again, realize that all situations are individual, so we can't speak completely universally about this. But my experience has been that most landlords are willing to work with people. So if you express to your landlord that you need to install a grab bar, they're willing to work with you to make that accommodation as needed. So I really encourage people, again, not to just assume that they can't do something because they don't own the property. Reach out and talk about it.
Okay, yeah. With the aging of the population,
exactly,
having more apartments or condos or townhouses or whatever equipped for someone older or a person with a disability.
And let's hope that this universal design is catching on and that we're seeing more and more places that are built like this.
Absolutely, yes.
Right.
Well, Scott, this has been incredibly helpful. Really, thank you so much.
It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. I do want to point out again that today is Falls Prevention Awareness Day, and please visit our website at ncoa.org. We have a lot of great information that older adults and caregivers can find there on not only home safety, but other risk factors, like the importance of physical activity, getting your medications reviewed, talking with your doctor about your falls risk. Maybe you feel unsteady on your feet, or you worry about falling, or you've experienced a fall but you haven't talked with your doctor about it. Now's the time to do it. Take action, because you do have the power to prevent a fall from happening and preventing that, what could be a life-threatening injury from happening. So is there some other
Remember
advice?
those 3 key points.
Yes.
Lighting is important. We want to increase and improve lighting wherever we can. We want to avoid and decrease clutter wherever we can. And we want to make sure that we set things that we're going to use routinely, easily accessible and out and available to us so that we're not climbing to get things routinely. Additionally, I have a couple of other thoughts that I'd like to share. The first is that we all get set in our ways as we get a little bit older, and it's really important to think about some simple little changes that we can make to our routine to make our situation safer. Taking a little bit extra time, being a little bit more thoughtful about your situation and planning ahead can go a long way to avoiding a major issue for yourself. So we would encourage you to think about that and to take that. The other thought I had is that as I was talking in the shower area, I thought about how important it is to think about how many points of contact you have with the ground or with a stable surface when you're maneuvering, and especially when you're stepping up a stair or you're shifting your center of gravity, you want to really always try to have 3 points of contact. So here I have one hand and 2 feet on the ground, but if I'm stepping over the tub, I've got to think about where I'm going to get that 3rd point of contact. And that's where I'm going to want to have a grab bar, and that's going to give me an idea of where I should be positioning things so that I have that 3 points of contact. I think that's helpful.
Excellent. Very, very helpful. Thank you. Well, again, thank you all for joining us today. This video will be available immediately after we finish up. It'll be on the NCOA Facebook page, so I welcome you to take another look at the video, share it with, could be your patients perhaps, your neighbors, your friends, whoever you know who might be at risk for a fall. So thank you again for joining us today, and stay tuned. We'll be doing more Facebook Live activities over the next several months.
And stay falls free.
Stay falls free.